Three, two, one, here we go. RAINMAN'S Take podcast. Observations on the world we live in. My take on current events and other topics of interest. Also, interviews with some really cool people. So let's get the conversation going. Hey, everybody, it's the Rain Man. Happy New Year. Looking forward to being here today and looking forward to a great 2025. Let me just say this before we get going with today's episode. If you are a part of the Rain Man's Take community already, thank you very much. If you're new to the program, welcome. I know you're going to love the content. So if you could, go ahead and hit that subscribe button that you'll find at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And go ahead and watch this video to the end. That'll help me with the YouTube algorithm, which will help me get the word out to more people and continue the conversation going. So with that being said, I just wanted to kick off today's episode of the new year, talking about a couple things. And let's just get it out in the open right now. It has been a crazy couple of weeks from the new year leading up to the inauguration. And it feels like the pace has even accelerated since then. And quite frankly, I love it. Trump's actions right now are the antithesis of the feckless Biden administration. I mean, he's signing executive orders at the cyclic rate. He's already given a few impromptu pressers and has been conducting diplomacy with world leaders. The pace is incredible, but is it sustainable? Can he sustain this pace? Only time will tell, but I love what I'm seeing and I'm feeling very optimistic. Now, after the election in November, the landslide election in November, I was cautiously optimistic, almost pensive and reflective. I didn't want to celebrate because I know there's so much damage that needs to be undone. I got myself geared up for the New Year's celebrations because I couldn't wait for Trump to get in office and stop the madness. However, as we all know, the New Year started off crazy with the murderous events in New Orleans and the seemingly botched explosion at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, which, by the way, we've heard nothing since from the mainstream media. In my view, there are a lot more to both these stories than just ISIS radicalized individual in the New Orleans case or a disgruntled special forces soldier who was angry at his ex-wife in the Vegas case. Now, I highly recommend you take some time and listen to two recent Sean Ryan podcast episodes, the one with Sarah Adams and one with Sam Shoemate. Now, I don't know Sean and I'm not connected to his show in any way, but I really like his podcast. And these two episodes are very informative and also, quite honestly, very concerning. And that's if just a fraction of the information discussed is accurate. Now, I don't trust anything our government or the mainstream media says at this point. And I feel like I'm getting good intel because of the background investigative work being done on those two events as discussed on Sean's shows. Again, don't take anything at face value. Do your own research, but I highly recommend you check out those two episodes. Now, this leads me to one of the first topics I wanted to discuss today, and that is we need to be ever vigilant, as I fear 2025 is going to be a very volatile and potentially dangerous year for us Americans. Now, I don't mean lock yourself in your house and never go outside for fear of the boogeyman. What I mean is we need to be more aware of our surroundings if you don't practice this already. Now, we Americans who are younger than 80 have never really known hardship, not like the Great Depression or the rationing of most everything in normal life during World War II. We've never really had to fear a full-scale attack on our shores. Obviously, we had a one-off like 9/11 as an example. But for the first time in my life, I've actually started to think very seriously about multiple sustained attacks on U.S. soil. Now, over the last at least decade or so, both Russian and Chinese long-range missile capabilities put the continental U.S. in their ranges. And I live just north of San Diego, which has a massive military presence in its beautiful harbor and bay. I'd be shocked if it wasn't in the top 10 of our enemy's target lists for the West Coast. Now, there have been many dozens and maybe even hundreds of military-aged males on various watch lists from terrorist activity or from countries we consider adversaries that have been apprehended at the southern border over the last 4 years. Now, you have to ask yourself, if that many are being caught, how many have actually gotten through? It is actually estimated there could be thousands of military-aged Chinese males in California alone, and an additional 1,000 or so hardcore Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists in sleeper cells already in this country. Now, that is discussed in Sarah Adams' interview with Sean Ryan. Again, highly recommend you check it out. The bottom line is, we no longer live in a world where we can be dismissive of something happening here. We had it with 9/11, but right now that is ancient history, and people again seem to be oblivious to the threats out there. Now, I believe this has been by design. The mainstream media and the officials in the Biden administration and the deep state don't want us to know about these developments and threats. In my view, they were setting the stage for another 9/11 type event. Now that Trump's back in the White House, hopefully things change. After all, what followed that horrible day on 9/11 was a series of laws passed designed to strip away our rights as U.S. citizens and give more power to the government. Another such event will usher in more draconian measures, I fear. A potential event like that is what Sam Shumate talks to Sean Ryan about. So again, check it out if you can. Again, even if just a little information from those interviews is accurate, that's enough to make me very concerned. So my first message today is a reminder to keep being skeptical about what you are being fed by the mainstream media and our government, and keep your guard up. Even me, knowing that Trump is back in charge and things are going to change, I still know there's an army of leftist deep staters wanting to subvert Trump in any way they can. I can only hope that at the very least, the Trump administration will expose these plots and get this information to the American people so that we can make up our own minds. Now, I will consider it a win if Trump's administration can shine a light on the evil that is being perpetrated against America and her citizens by nefarious actors within our government. Be vigilant when you're out there living your life. Not paranoid, but just know your surroundings. Start to think about what might be potential targets for a terrorist attack and adjust accordingly if possible. Again, take this all with a grain of salt and do your own research and make up your own mind. Now, I try to do this on a regular basis, but I'm going to work to increase my awareness of my surroundings not only this year, but moving forward. I have friends, however, who think about this stuff all the time. Call them preppers, call them whatever you want. They think about this stuff all the time. Now, I don't want to go that far, but I have the information now from these interviews, so I'll be even more aware of where I am and what's going on around me. Let me reiterate again. I don't know if all this information from those interviews is accurate, but even if just some of it is, that's enough to raise my antenna. All right, now let's just take a step back and take a deep breath. That's the stuff I'm worried about. Believe it or not, I'm actually very optimistic about 2025, which is the second part of this episode. Now, there are monumental changes taking place in this country and around the world, and that means there will be opportunities everywhere you look. I believe these are world-changing events and are in motion, so there's no stopping them. The world is not going to be the same. Just be vigilant, aware, and flexible enough to manage through this incredible and most likely sometimes scary time. Trump's inauguration is over, and now the hard part, governing and moving beyond the dumpster fire that was the last 4 years. Now, after the inauguration, I had a conversation with two of my best friends, one who has a very similar worldview as me, and the other who is a little bit more mainstream and moderate. Anyway, we were discussing Biden's last-minute bullshit pardons recently of Fauci, members of the January 6th committee, General Milley, and other members of Biden's immediate family. My more moderate friend was saying he hoped Trump would just move on and not go back and investigate these people, that there is too much that needs to be done moving forward to look in the rearview mirror. Now, I absolutely agree with that latter comment. I don't agree with the former. First of all, if there's anyone who could do both, investigate these people on one hand and push his agenda on the other, it's Trump. As we've seen in the last few days since his inauguration, the guy's been going balls to the wall, just making things happen. My view is we absolutely need to investigate these people and get to the bottom of the crimes that may or may not have happened as far back as 2014. Now, I'm paraphrasing part of Fauci's pardon there. Fauci, the January 6th committee, and General Milley have done so much damage to this country that there needs to be closure and accountability for their actions. Now, We cannot have another situation like Hillary Clinton's after the debacle in Benghazi, Libya back in 2012. If you recall, she stalled and delayed the hearing before Congress for 30 days after the Benghazi attacks. And when she did finally go in front of that panel, she had the gall to attack them, saying essentially, it was over a month ago, people died, what difference does it make at this point, 30 days later, to go back over it? Now, I'm paraphrasing, but she skated from any accountability for her horrible decisions that led to that horrific attack. She should have been run up the flagpole and her political career ended then and there. But they let her off the hook, and she continued to be one of the more influential, shadiest, and corrupt politicians in recent times. And that led to the travesty leading up to Trump's first election in 2016. If Hillary had won in 2016, it would have been Obama's de facto third term. Thankfully, Trump derailed that, but eventually that's what we got with Biden. And we all know the disastrous path he led us down. Again, I don't think that was incompetence. I think that was all by design. People need to be held accountable. I realize we're talking about corrupt DC, so it most likely won't happen. But at the very least, these perpetrators need to be investigated and be on camera in front of a congressional panel so the American people can watch them try to weasel their way out of the grilling they rightly deserve. So yes, in my view, it absolutely still matters. Again, I realize it's akin to pissing into the wind, wanting accountability from DC. But if anyone can make headway in this, it's Trump. So I say go for it. Now, in light of the trouncing the left took this past election, I now find it comical for people like Adam Schiff and AOC to try to bring up all the old failed talking points. The American people have moved on. As an example, just the other day, Stephen A. Smith yelled at AOC to change her tune because nobody's listening anymore. And he's a Democrat. Apparently the other day she was bloviating about Trump showing fascist tendencies with his thoughts on what to do about TikTok. And that if he or his side gets control of it, that it will usher in a fascist nightmare in America. She even went so far as to suggest he may even adjust the algorithms so he gets better coverage. Oh, the horror. The problem is, and AOC knows this, is that is exactly what the left has been doing to the social media companies for the last 4 years. That is literally what Mark Zuckerberg has been saying over these last few months as he has been changing Facebook's tune about free speech. The government was heavy-handing social media to censor Trump and conservative content. And only now that most of them are trying to get in Trump's good graces and actually embrace free speech, it's an existential threat to our democracy, according to AOC. I just find it comical. So the left actually got caught implementing fascism in the United States. AOC knows this. So she is just a hypocrite of the highest order, or an idiot if she doesn't. The left has actually done what she is warning that Trump might do. It seems to me that everything the left blames on the right, they are the ones who have actually done it. I say this to the left. Please continue to lean on that losing strategy. Trump is not the devil, and if these last several weeks are any indication, he will turn his promises into action and right this ship of state. So that's it for today. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a warning up front, but then also finish off with some optimism about what's going to happen with the United States in 2025 and moving forward. So I'll finish like I always do, and that is if you're in the military, the police departments, fire departments, or first responders, if that's you out there, thank you very much for your service. Stay safe. This is the Rain Man. Happy New Year, everyone. Looking forward to the next time. Take care. Thanks for watching Rain Man's Take, Observations on the World We Live In. If you like the content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. You can also follow Rain Man's Take on Instagram at Rain Man's Take. Also, check out our website at www.rainmanstakepodcast.com and send your comments to rainmanstake@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for future podcasts, which will be coming out every Thursday at 5 p.m. West Coast time.